when I'm not being reminded, like I am every year, how quickly pumpkins rot and what a stupid idea it is to spend time carving them. I like to answer questions that I get on YouTube, so let's get to it. I had a thought the other day, wanted to get your input. I see a lot of YouTube guitarists with many guitars, but do you think you could go, let's say, 2 months with only one? And what would you choose? We can even split it acoustic and electric with a bass to complement them all. Hope all is well, take it easy. I mean, first of all, why would you ask me such a mean question? That's so mean, making me choose. Second of all, what a luxury it actually is to have, like, the ability to have multiple guitars, when really all you truly need is one good one. But obviously I've got like a ton of them because it's just a lot of fun. And yes, I have the thing where, oh, they all do different things, which I don't really even believe myself when I tell people that, but it's just fun to kind of like collect. So I'm in a position where I have a bunch of them, and even though it's mean, you making me choose just one, I'm going to try to do it. I very easily was able to narrow it down to 3, and then it became very difficult to choose just one. So, the top 3 contestants for electric guitar are the Fender Ultra Strat, the Ernie Ball St. Vincent, and the D'Angelico Deluxe SS, right? And I just kind of want to talk about these for a little bit. I've done actual demos on pretty much all 3 of these, which I'll link below if you want to hear them. You're not going to hear any of these. I'm just going to talk about kind of my thoughts on them right now. So don't flame me like, oh, just play the stupid guitar. Just go to the links if you want to hear them. But I will say, if I were to recommend one guitar to somebody, and I didn't really know what their style was or whatever, like you just want one guitar that's amazing, I would totally pick the Fender Ultra Strat. I think the Ultra Strat is just incredible. It couldn't really be any better, to be honest. I think the addition of the S1 switching, where you can add the neck pickup to any of the positions, truly opens up a lot of stuff that I personally really love in the Strat. I never found myself ever in position 1 on a Strat, but when you add the neck pickup to it, it really sounds great. I love kind of like the higher end features on as far as like the joint and locking tuners. This guitar is absolutely amazing. Okay, now if whatever guitar you have, and you want a second guitar, I can't recommend the D'Angelico Deluxe SS highly enough. I absolutely love this guitar, but it definitely has a distinct tone to it that might not be for everybody. It has this really beautiful, like rich, kind of creamy vibe. Even when you kind of like split it into single coils and you're on the bridge, it's still kind of rich and creamy. And the tone is just awesome. But it's definitely kind of like for a specific thing, and I wouldn't recommend it as like a one all-around versatile guitar, even though it really is the way you can kind of like split stuff. But again, if I were to recommend one guitar to somebody, it would be the Strat. If I were to recommend a second guitar to anybody, it would be a D'Angelico semi-hollow. And also too, the turquoise one that is less expensive, that isn't made in the US, is awesome too, and I'm in love with that guitar. That being said, if I had to pick one, I'm shocked to say this, I would pick the St. Vincent. This guitar I have absolutely fallen in love with. I'm a huge St. Vincent fan. I've always been a huge St. Vincent fan of her as an artist. This guitar, when they sent it to me, I was like, okay, cool. Like, I'm super stoked to have it. But there was one thing I really didn't like about it at first, and that was the lack of a traditional cutaway. I used to think, like, when I was playing it, like, I'd get to the higher register, and it felt like a brick wall just kind of, like, hitting this cutaway. But now that I've gotten used to it, this is like my favorite guitar. That if I just had to pick one, just for like the style of music that I kind of see myself like playing and writing into the future, I think humbuckers is really kind of where it's at. Again, nothing against the Strat. Like I said, I think the Strat is probably actually like the best guitar, the Ultra Strat, but it definitely is like a single coil vibe that is very distinctively it. I think there's something about these humbuckers that, if you can tell, I use this a lot in some of the more recent recordings and stuff. But the Music Man necks, I always think are the most playable. I feel like a faster player playing this guitar. Not that speed is really even my thing or is even important at all. But I do feel like I can play certain things, I don't know, a little bit better on this guitar. So I'm just as shocked as maybe some of you are to say that this guitar has become kind of like my favorite one. But again, it was really hard to choose between these 3, and there's no wrong decision when it comes to that. But that's basically what I think about the electrics. Acoustic guitar, to nobody's surprise, is the 614. This is newer for me. I've had the Taylor GA3 for a long time, and I still think that blindfolded, I might prefer the sound right now of that Taylor GA3. But one thing that maybe if you haven't experienced that kind of shockingly opened my eyes to how acoustic guitars age well is that they sound better. The good ones sound better as they get older. That's definitely something I heard with the GA3 that opened up after having it for a few years. I can tell that the 614 has opened up even only having it for like a few months. And just the fact that it has a cutaway, it has a really good ES2 pickup system that you can kind of plug in, and just kind of like all the bells and whistles on this guitar is absolutely awesome. And it looks great. You know, like looks aren't supposed to be a huge factor when kind of like picking like a favorite guitar, but I think, you know, just it being something that you look at and you want to pick up is a huge thing. Same thing with the St. Vincent. One thing I love about that guitar is that it's different. And even though it's like a signature artist model, it's something that like not everybody has, and it's just cool that it's different. So definitely acoustically, got to go with the 614. Now bass guitar is another really, really difficult decision for me. I only have two basses, the Rickenbacker 4003, iconic, and the Ernie Ball Bongo, okay? Stealth black right here. A lot of people, most people have at least seen, if not know about the 4003. Definitely like super vintage, like incredible vibe. Like I said, just iconic. Not a lot of people know about the Bongo unless you're like in, you know, bass playing circles. And I'm going to have to pick the Bongo. These two basses, I think, are diametrically opposite of each other, which is how I can justify having one of each, right? But again, the Rickenbacker is such a signature sound. In fact, I remember I heard the Vampire Weekend song Everlasting Arms, and that night I was like, I need to get whatever that bass is. It ended up being Rickenbacker 4003. I think that the sound of that slightly muted and then having like an electric guitar also playing the same line but also muted an octave up is like the best vintage bass sound for a certain style. That being said, the Bongo is just like nothing plays better than this. I remember the first time I saw a used Bongo in a Guitar Center, and I was like, what is this? You know, I always knew about the Stingrays and how they were really good, but I had never played a Bongo, so I ended up buying this one, and I mean, there's really nothing super fancy about it. It's just punchy, it's deep, it has kind of like an onboard EQ, which is really great. Just the one pickup for this one. 4 strings, I would never need anything else besides this. This bass is absolutely fantastic. Again, like all the Ernie Ball stuff, it plays great. And that's going to be it. So, St. Vincent, Bongo, and Taylor 614, and I'm set. I can do bar chords easily on an electric guitar, but for some reason, when I play bar chords on an acoustic or a classic, the B and G string is muted. Am I doing anything wrong? So I probably need more information to accurately answer this question as far as how you specifically are doing it, but I know the B string specifically is something that gives a lot of players a hard time getting like a bar chord. I'm just going to do like an A major bar chord, just barring the 5th fret, ring finger 7A, pinky 7D, middle finger 6G, and then 5E on there, right? Now, I remember when I first started trying to play these, I would always kind of get that sound out of the B string. Specifically, if I were to lift my middle finger up and play a minor bar chord, I'd get that. The G and the B strings would always be the hardest ones, okay? So just a couple quick tips on that. If it's major, let's start with the major one. Really, if you look at my thumb, it's kind of putting all the pressure through the spot that is hardest to hold down, okay? So you really have to be thoughtful about it and maybe tilt your pointer finger a little bit back that way. Put it at an angle because, again, the hard part of your finger, like the straight part, is going to be what you want with the pressure to come down on. Otherwise, it might get caught in the creases on your finger joints, right? That was always a big thing for me. As soon as I went from being straight to kind of tilting it just a little bit to my left, then I found I was getting better tone from those troublesome strings. As far as like a minor bar chord, one thing that you'll see me do a lot in my playing is if I'm playing like an A minor bar chord like here, 5, 7, 7, 5, 5, 5, I'll take my middle finger and pile on to my pointer finger and then kind of double down on that. And that always allows that G and B string to ring out. So it takes a little bit of finesse, but if you're thoughtful about it, you'll be able to do it no problem. I also wanted to ask, do you use your ring finger on your right hand for finger picking? Yes, absolutely. But one thing to think about is there's actually different types of finger picking, right? There's like Travis picking. And in that case, I really rarely use my ring finger. For that kind of style, it's really just kind of like thumb going back and forth, and then my pointer finger and my middle finger kind of picking up the rest of it. Now, if I'm playing like this, like... then I'm definitely using my ring finger. In fact, I think that kind of style playing, which is, I would say more often than not how I'm generally playing, whether it's acoustic or electric, I'm really just using my thumb to hit a root note on either the E or the A string. So the thumb kind of has ownership over those strings, just the low E string. And then my pointer, middle, and ring finger will be kind of just chilling on the D, G, and B strings, okay? There's an infinite amount of stuff you can do with just that. That's why I think the way that a guitar in standard tuning is set up, it really lends itself to those E string or A string rooted chords that where maybe you just have the bass note there, and then the rest of the chord is going to be filled out using just the D, G, and B strings. And then if you want the high E string too, you just move these three fingers down from D, G, and B to G, B, and E. Okay? So that's just my own personal style. I know some people use, their fingers in all sorts of interesting ways, but that is basically kind of my style.
God, the more I listen to these two, the more I feel bad for the future. They're the literal epitome of millennial stupidity.
The literal epitome, millennial stupidity. It's almost like he's flaming me in verse. So, I mean, I guess, okay, whatever. I've heard dumber people than me talk, so... I'm not telling you not to be worried for the future, but hey, what can you do? What is the interface in this video? What interface do you advise for audiobooks? So most of the time the interface you'll be seeing in these videos is a Universal Audio Apollo. I've actually got a video on the Audient Evo coming up pretty soon that I'm excited to try out. I've done another video of the smaller Evo, which is like $100 interface. It just has like a couple channels. But if you're just doing an audiobook and all you need is like a channel, that Audient Evo thing is awesome for the money, and I'm stoked to try out something with a little bit more inputs just to kind of check that out. But again, for me, I have an Apollo interface because I have like a ton of inputs that I guess I need. But if you're just doing audiobooks, you might not need something that robust. And like I said, I think the Audient stuff is actually really great value for what it is, and you're going to see a video on that coming up soon. So you got a good one for listening homework this week. Last week was an absolute awesome week for new music. I love every now and then there'll be two albums that both drop on the same day, and I can't decide which one I like more. Adrienne Linker is amazing. Her new album is fantastic. I am a huge fan of hers. You may know her from the band Big Thief, which I've talked about on this channel before. I'm a huge Big Thief fan. I think her solo album is just so good. The guitar work is great. The songwriting is awesome too. It dropped on the same day as the Gorillaz album, which I think is actually really good and kind of slept on. The new one that came out last week, so maybe that'll be next week's listening homework. But definitely this week, check out Adrienne Linker because, again, I can't say enough great things about her. Such a great vibe. I think it's really kind of filling a space musically that I didn't think we had a lot of great stuff currently for, and I'm just a big fan. So definitely thanks for checking it out. If you have any questions or comments for me, hit me up in the comment section, Instagram, Twitter, or the website. I'll talk to y'all soon. Thanks a lot.